Hey everybody, welcome back to From the Holler. If you're new, my name is Missy, and we are so glad that y'all decided to stop by and set a spell. And tonight we are back in the kitchen, got my apron on, and I am ready to cook supper, y'all. And tonight's supper is going to be cannelloni. And y'all, this is so good. I've not made it in a while, but it is absolutely delicious, and I am excited to show you guys how I make it. So let's get in this kitchen. Let's get this supper going. Let's get this cannelloni started. I've got my Dutch oven sitting here, and we are going to turn this on medium-high heat. So I'm going to put that on about 6, okay? So to that, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil and maybe just a drizzle more. There we go. And to my olive oil, actually, I'm going to let that, I'm going to go ahead and swish that around, let it cover the bottom, and we're going to put it back on the heat. I'm going to let this get a little hot, okay? I'm going to let it come up to temp and get a little warm. And then while that's doing that, I'm going to get all my other stuff over here ready, because this needs to simmer for about 45 minutes. And I'm going to use the rest of this bag of this red onion that I've diced up earlier. And y'all already know I keep these in my freezer. So I'm just going to get these ready to pour in when that comes up to temp. Over here I've got my big pot out, and I filled it a little over halfway full with water. We're going to cook our manicotti noodles, or, well, they're manicotti noodles, but we're making cannelloni. So, anyway, I've got that ready to go. So, when this gets close to done, then we'll put our noodles in and get them started cooking. Alright, back over here. We'll go ahead. This is heated up. I'm going to go ahead and throw my onions in. The recipe calls for 1 cup, so yeah, I'm going to call that right there, 1 cup. So we didn't use the whole bag, but we came close to it. We're going to stir these onions around. They're going to cool the Dutch oven off because they were frozen. I did not thaw them, so they're going to cool that off just a little bit. But it won't take it long to heat back up, come back up to temp, and get those going again. So there's that. And we're just going to let these cook for about 5 minutes or so, just until they start becoming tender and looking pretty for us. So we're going to let those sit there and cook. I will stir them every now and then since we're using the Dutch oven. And as soon as we get those cooked, then we'll be right back. Alright, so our onions have been cooking about 5 minutes or so. They are looking and smelling delicious. Very tender. So now we're going to add in, the recipe calls for 2 28-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes. I have 1 can of these, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. We'll stir that around. We'll get in there and get all that out. And then I have a 28-ounce can of tomato sauce. So we're going to use that. I could have sworn that I had 2 cans of the crushed tomatoes. And y'all, I've got home canned tomatoes in there. But I need to use these up. And then get into those. And I'm just going to mix this up like that. The recipe also calls for a 1/2 cup of finely chopped fresh basil. I don't have fresh basil. I have my home dehydrated basil. So we're just going to use some of it. And y'all, it smells so good. So good. So I am just going to crush some of that up and add it in there. Oh, yes. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. I grew a ton of basil last year. And I dehydrated it. Every bit of it. Just for nights like this. When I want something hearty. And something delicious. And that's exactly what I'm making. And you know what? I'm going to add just a little bit more. Not a whole lot, just about that much. We are going to rub that in. There we go. Oh, yeah. That's going to be delicious. Delicious, I tell you. Get that off of my spurtle there. There we go. So we're going to get all that basil stirred in. We're going to add a little pepper, freshly ground pepper. If you don't have freshly ground, then use whatever you have. And then we're going to add about a teaspoon of salt, but wait a minute, hold on. That 1 can of tomatoes did not have any salt, and I'm going to turn this down a little more. That tomato sauce didn't have any salt in it. So it may take a little more than a teaspoon. Okay. So we are just going to add and just a little bit more. Then I'm going to stir it in. We'll taste it. We'll see where it's at. And if it needs any more seasonings, or if we are good to go. All right, here we go. All right. Just a tiny bit more salt. And just a tiny bit more basil. I can taste it, but barely. And I can always add more, but I can't take it away after it's been added. So I tend to err on the side of caution with adding seasonings. So, all right, we're going to try this again. Oh, that is perfect. I can taste that basil. Oh my goodness. So good. So good. Y'all. That makes all the hard work in the garden and in the kitchen, putting all that stuff up, makes it so worth it. That is delicious. And I would just about guarantee you that it would be delicious with home canned tomatoes. Yes, we are going to try this using home canned tomatoes. Okay. So now we need to let this sit here and simmer for about 45 minutes. And then we will be ready to move on with the next step in getting our cannelloni made. All right, it's time to get our noodles going. So I'm going to turn my water on high. And we are going to season this water really good, because pasta can soak up a lot of salt. So there we go. Just bloop, a little bit more. And these are the noodles that I'm going to be using. It's the manicotti noodles. And it's going to take the whole box. So we're going to let our water come up to a boil. And y'all, I can't stay out of this sauce. Like, I keep taste testing it. It's so good. And I just got off the phone with Pat, and I told him about how good it was, and he said, yeah, you stay out of it. He knows me. He knows me too well. Seriously, I am thinking about all the things that I can use this sauce over here for now. Yeah, it's so good. So good. Alright, so we're going to let this come up to a boil. And, well, it's already boiling, y'all. We're going to get our manicotti noodles in there. We'll go ahead and get them open, so they'll be ready to go when the water's ready. Because I want these to be done, and I'm going to let them just cool for a few minutes. That way I can touch them. That way I can get them stuffed when the time comes. So, yay. We're getting close to putting this in the oven. Noodles are done. So now I've got a pound of hamburger meat, ground beef, whatever you want to call it. We're going to put it in the skillet, and we are going to get it started cooking, because that is going to go into our manicotti mixture, and I'm just going to use this. It's all going to the same place. So I'm just going to use this spurtle. No need to dirty up more dishes than what I already have. And I am very lightly, and I mean very lightly, going to seize. Lord, I am very lightly going to season my ground beef, because we're going to season it up really good in the mixture that we're going to be making. So I am just going to put just a little bit of salt and just a tiny bit of pepper. And then that way I don't over season. I don't want to over salt anything, but I want to have the layers of seasoning in this. So we're just going to get this browned up. We're going to get it drained off, and then we're going to start making our mixture to go inside of the shells. Time to make our filling for the noodles. Y'all, I've got 4 tablespoons of our sauce in here, and to that I'm going to add our ground beef, and I'm just going to drain it using a slotted spoon. Y'all can tell when I'm tired, right? That's when I have the most trouble talking. Yes. Tonight's one of those nights. It's been a busy day. Alright, so we got our hamburger meat in there. We're going to do a 15-ounce container of whole milk ricotta cheese. We're just going to get that in there. I'm sure if you wanted to substitute cottage cheese for the ricotta, then you could. I've not tried it, but I'm sure it would be fine. So we're just going to get that in there. Now the recipe calls for 16 ounces of mozzarella. Y'all, I don't have any mozzarella, so I'm going to use this Italian style. It'll be just fine. I'm just using what I have on hand. There is no sense in me going out and buying something special for just this recipe when I have this in the freezer and I can use it and it'll be just as good. So use what you have in your pantries or your freezers. I substitute quite often. So we're going to get most of these bags of mozzarella in here. Mine is still a little bit frozen as per the usual because I always forget to put my cheese out. But the hamburger meat is still good and warm. So it will be fine. I'm actually going to go ahead and stir this a little bit before I add the other bag. Now I'm going to hold a little bit of the other bag back so that I'll have it to put on top along with the Parmesan. It only calls, the Parmesan, it calls for Parmigiano Reggiano. Y'all, I don't have any of that. I have Parmesan, so that's what I'm going to use. Again, I don't buy special. And that Parmigiano Reggiano, last time I looked, it's a little expensive. So, yeah, I don't buy that. I use what I have. All right, so now I'm going to put probably about 2/3 of this bag of Italian in here instead of the whole thing. I think 2/3 should be pretty good. And the rest I will put back to put on top. There we go. That's what I'm going to save to put on top. Right there. Yes, I keep rinsing my hand. It gets a little cold and I can't get the other bags open. I could have opened them all at once, but at this point in the day, I just don't think that far. All right, so now for the Parmesan, we only need, let's see, we need 2 tablespoons of Parmesan. So I'm going to say 1, 2. So there we go. The rest of that will go on top. Now we're going to add, let me dry my hands off. We're going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Like I told you, I want to layer the seasonings in. A little bit of salt. Parmesan is going to be a little on the salty side. I've already seasoned the meat a little bit, so there we go. Rinse my hand. And now we're going to mix this together. Next comes the hard part, for me anyway. Might not be for anybody else, but next comes the hard part for me. Now I cooked the noodles to al dente, and the package says to cook them 9 minutes, and I cooked them about 7.5 minutes. I didn't want them completely done because I knew that they were going to sit here. I've got them right here under this towel so they don't dry out. All right, y'all. There's our filling. Now, let's get some stuff moved and cleaned up. And let's get our baking dish over here so that we can get these filled and in the oven. All right, we are going to see how this best works. And I thought I had moved everything out of my way, but apparently I was wrong. So I'm going to move this over here. We'll get us a little assembly line going. So I'm going to grab one of my noodles. And I'm just going to open it up. I've got a small teaspoon. And I'm just going to take this. May take me a second to get in the groove of this. But once I do, ooh, child, you better watch out. So I am going to do that. There we go. Pap's just got home. He is looking forward to this meal, and y'all, I am too. I ain't gonna lie, I am looking forward to it. We haven't had this in a long time, and I am looking forward to it. Now, if you wanted to use ground pork instead of the beef or even ground turkey, it would hold the flavors well. All right, so there we go. We're just gonna put that over here in our baking dish. But if you wanted to use a substitute for the ground beef, you could, no problem. Ground pork or Italian sausage would be good in this. It would be really good in this. Just saying. There we go. I'm going to push that on down in there, like so. Trying to put too much in at one time, and it's just balking up on me. There we go. I am no professional by any means at this, as you can very well tell, and it fell right back out in full. But y'all, I can flavor this up like nobody's business, and it'll taste so good. Now I'm going to flip it over. We are going to make sure that that is packed in there. Ooh, yes. I want to put as much in there as I can possibly fit without ripping my noodle. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to get these filled up, and then I will see you guys back here when it is time to move on to the next step. Y'all, we are super close. Y'all, had enough for another little pan here. So I'm finishing up my last one, and y'all see correctly, I have gone to using my hands for this. Much easier, much easier. And my noodles have set just almost too long. They're starting to crack a little bit, but that's okay. We're all about that rustic food. So there's that one. Look at there, had the perfect amount. So now I'm gonna get my hands rinsed off, and we're gonna move over to the stove, and we're gonna finish this up. So now all that's left to do is put our sauce. I'm gonna give it a good stir over here, y'all. Have I mentioned how good this is? Because look at how thick and beautiful that sauce is. So we're just going to put our sauce over top of our stuffed shells, like so. Put some down in there, like so. Oh yeah. All right, there is that pan. Let me move this pan over here. I think the little pan is going to work with Paps tomorrow, and we will feast on this big pan tonight, and probably have leftovers for Aiden and I to have lunch tomorrow. I'm going to guess. Maybe. I am going to pair this with a salad tonight, and I wish I had thought, because I would have made some garlic knots or something, some homemade bread. I've got homemade bread in there, but it's sandwich bread. I could make it into garlic bread, but we're going to fix us a salad and this, and we're going to call that supper. Yes, we are. And I'm going to bring that little one back up here, and I'm going to put just a tad bit more sauce on that one. Let's see if I can just reach back there and do it. Oh yeah. I just don't want to make a big mess, but I don't want none of this to go to waste. Like, seriously. Not a drop, not a bit, none of it to go to waste. Let me move this one out of the way. I think I got enough on that one. I was a little bit sparing on this one, just until I got them both covered. Now I can add a little bit more. Okay, that should be good on that one. Now I've got just a little bit more over here, and I'm just going to scoop this onto this big one, and we're going to call this done. Just like that. Golly bum, golly bum. Good golly, Miss Mold. This is going to be good. Alright. I scraped. Okay. Now, I am going to put, we'll bring this over here. I am going to put our mozzarella on first. Well, actually, our Italian blend. But it's got mozzarella in it, so, you know. Now, I don't need a whole lot of cheese on top because, I mean, the filling is packed full of cheese. So, alright, there's our mozzarella. That's what I'm going to put on that one. Sorry about that. I had to go take care of one of my little four-legged babies. Alright, now we're going to put the Italian blend, or mozzarella, if that's what you're using, over top of our big pan here. Y'all, this smells so good. Oh, so good. So good. Ooh, you know what? I just thought of something. Something else that would be good in that sauce is if you added just a little dab, and I mean a pinch, of red pepper flakes. Woo! That would set it off. Set it off. Alright, now we're going to go in with our Parmesan. I'm going to get that over top. Spread that out. Yes. Put just a little bit over here in this corner. There we go. Alright. Now we're going to move that out of the way, put this little one over here, and we're going to put our Parmesan on top of it, and then y'all, it's time to go in the oven. Oh. And then we are about 30 minutes away from eating supper. Well, actually about 40 minutes, because it needs to set. You don't want to just grab it out of the oven and put it on a plate. You want this to set for about 10 minutes and just all come together. Okay? All right. There we go. There we go. These are going into the oven, 350-degree oven, for about 30 minutes until the cheese is melted. It's all hot and bubbly. And then we're going to take it out, let it set for about 10 minutes, come together, and then we're going to serve it up. So, there we go. Supper's in the oven. Turn my timer on, 30 minutes. I've got time to clean my mess up. We'll see you back here in about 30 minutes. And that's what's left of ours. Y'all ate and loved this and ate it up. This was so good. And then of course I'm gonna wrap this one up. Paps is gonna take this one to work with him tomorrow. And Aiden and I have just enough for lunch tomorrow.